got that cherry bomb.
Welcome to Breaking Beauty Podcast. Rachel, what's sort of like your vibe with makeup right now in 2024? Like, what are you feeling? Because when I was talking to Carlene about it, I was like, there's not even a false lash out there. It seems very dialed down. It's like quiet luxury, no makeup. And you're doing some of the most incredible work. Love it.
Thank you. I think red carpet's its own animal, and it's always been. And I think people, they tend to look down on it sometimes as it's like a lowlier art form, because it seems that, in the sense that like in the fashion world, that seems like it's like less of a skill set. It has its own intricacies and its own language and its own unique, requirements that make it tricky. And for me, pulling back is sort of, it's so crazy because people always assume that it's less work, but restraint requires an enormous amount of work. It's like, I always refer to it as like the French omelet of makeups, because it's like, a chef in a Michelin star restaurant or something. It's like, if you can't do a perfect French omelet, then you can't do anything else.
Right.
And so the French omelet, analogy works on a few levels, but I think that ultimately a beautiful natural makeup is one of the hardest things to do, especially for photography and for all the different angles and all the different ways in which it's going to be seen, whether it's on a television screen and on a flash camera, on the outside in the natural daylight, in the incandescent bulbs.
I'm going to ask you a question about the 80s, because I remember like my older sister and her friends, and it was just really of that era. People would go to Merle Norman and get their colors done, okay?
I love that you know Merle Norman.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like we're in the same era.
Yep.
So it was the whole color analysis. So it was either your winter, your spring, your summer, or your fall. And that's how you bought your makeup, right?
Yes.
So now this is coming back on TikTok, but it's even more fragmented. It's like you're like a cool spring, a warm whatever. And people are really like vibing with this because it's like, it's guidelines. It's like, so they know what to do. And even remember back in the day, and like Almay would have, if you had like blue eyes, this is what you buy. So I'm just curious from your perspective as a makeup artist, like color theory analysis, how can we break that down, make it work for us, but not go so literal?
Not put the filter on.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to me because color theory obviously matters to me a lot.
Yes.
Right? I live for it, but I'm so averse to boxes of any kind.
Yes.
So for me, it's interesting because we have to know the rules.
Yeah.
In order to break them, as they say. But I feel like I don't want more rules.
Right.
I've never wanted more rules. I'm a bit of a rebel. So for me, I like to know what the rules are, but I never adhere to them. So for me to give women like a template, again, always makes me, it feels very crunchy to me.
Yeah.
But I know that is not the popular belief. I mean, most women want the answers. They don't want more questions. And when I look back on my life as a counter girl for MAC in the 90s, I remember hearing a lot of women say things to me like, I could never wear that.
Yes.
Oh no, that's, and I'm a fall or I'm a spring. And I'd be like, girl, if you like that color, put it on. Like, it's like right now, could someone come up to you and tell you that isn't the right choice for you? Sure. They can tell you color theory wise, it isn't.
But Carlene's wearing bright blue eyeshadow. Love it.
But how dare they? Because it's so fun to look at. I'm like, I'm delighted every time I look at you and I see your personality. I see who you are by that choice that you made.
Right.
And that to me, the choice that you make is more important based on whether or not you love that color. You made a choice.
Yeah.
That choice is so interesting to me. And I find that if that's taken from us, like, I'm not interested.
It's so much about self-expression these
and what
days,
you're feeling in the moment. Absolutely.
For me, it's always been that.
Yeah.
I don't really think I'm sure, if I choose to wear a green eyeliner one day and someone's like, well, you're really a spring or whatever. I'm like, screw off.
Yeah. I know. All I know is that because I have blue eyes. Apparently, like orange or coppery things is what is the most flattering because it's the opposite on the color wheel. That's the
and that's
thing.
exactly right. So if you look at so for me, like I like to break the rules.
Yes.
So for me, I'm like, oh, if I see someone wearing a green dress, right?
Yeah.
You could easily be like, oh, I know that if they don't want to go literal, say wear a red lip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could play with red undertones, like warm, kind of glowing sort of, and make it a more harmonious thing, but also it's really delightful to our eyes when we see things that are juxtaposed.
Yes.
And so we don't know why. Most people don't have the, like, you know, the words to express why they like something they see. But they're seeing it and they're like, ooh, that feels right, because it's playing out. And so I think you can sometimes choose to go with it and like stay in the heart, more like be really monochromatic. So you're like, ooh, they're wearing cool tones. Let's stay all cool. And that has its own feeling.
Right.
And then you're like, ooh, sometimes I want to be, you know, have this dual nature thing going on. And then sometimes I want to be super like, you know, everything stays in one tone and it's all harmonious over here. So I think for me, it's like I like to surprise. I like to surprise people, so I'll usually do the opposite shade. But I also love kind of finding that little sweet spot where it all just comes together.
And you're not really sure why you love it.
I don't know why I love it. I just do, and I'm like, I just let it kind of come to me, and then I just, you know, and it's hard to explain.
It really is hard to articulate.
I don't know why I was just relating this to like an album. But right. So it's like you could follow the rules and have the chords be all like, you know, in harmony and everything. But if every song was like a ballad, it would be boring. Right. So every once in a while, it's like you need
a banger.
Beyonce to sing country, or you need, you know,
you
need something juxtaposed to keep us interested.
Keep your eye interested, you know.
The eye has to travel. Isn't that the thing?
Has to travel.
Right.
It's true. I mean, if you listen to the way she spoke about color, I mean, God, it's like
Diana Vreeland, right?
Yes.
Diana.
Diana. I love, as long as somebody, for me, a successful makeup, there's two things: that they feel something about it, and that the woman that it's on feels like the best she could ever feel. Those are the two things that are at play. So it's like I do feel like my makeup hopefully incites some kind of emotion, and especially in the person wearing it. But I also don't want the makeup to be the first thing that you see. I want you to see the person, and then the makeup. So it's it's a dance. It's always a dance.
We're going to talk about spring, summer makeup.
Okay.
What are some of your favorite types of complexion products for summer?
Ooh. So summer, obviously, people get, you know, makeup slides more, depending on where you're living. If you're in the desert like we are, where it's a bit drier, but also if you're on the East Coast and it's all a lot of humidity. I end up using more sort of water-based products in the summer. I think that's kind of a rule that I typically go by. Like, you know, I stick with that. The stuff that's less likely to make me look greasier than I already am. But I also think that there's really been so much innovation in this world. I am loving one of the products that I used all last spring and summer that I will be using again is St. Jane's kind of primer sunblock thing that she made. It was like a kind of skin refining sunscreen with botanicals that treat the skin. So it's like it works on a lot of levels. And I think the less is more approach for me in the summer is great. Even if you choose to wear foundation, you want to try to minimize the like level of amount of makeup you have on. It just feels better.
I've never tried that brand. I've seen it though on Instagram.
I am such a big fan of that brand. And then the other one I love that always makes me feel like I'm in a spa is Monastery's Aloe Hyaluronic, which is just this really beautiful lightweight gel that just kind of sinks right into the skin. It has like this beautiful botanical fragrance that like it almost smells like it's got lavender and rosemary. It's very, you know, sensorial. And I just feel like whenever I put it on, I feel like I've just taken my shoulders down a couple inches.
Oh, nice.
And so that's a great one because you can wear it under makeup and it just like things go on really smooth. And there's no slide. It's
reminding me, it's sounding like the all natural, like chicer version of the Milk Makeup Grip primer.
You know? Maybe I haven't used that, but the grown-up version. I definitely have. My taste leans a tide bit to the luxury.
Yes, elegant.
But I love that.
Yeah, I'm not against a drugstore product. I love a drugstore product, but I tend to in my personal life, and then when I'm also treating clients, to lean toward the more luxury, like sort of enveloping you and that feeling, because it is, skincare is. It makes you kind of go from that's the first step between the real world and then the world we're about to go into. So when I'm doing a makeup, and even on myself, if I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go out today and I want to face the world, it's like this little step kind of takes me out of my sweatpants and into the woman who's about to go do a podcast or something, Yeah. And so I think that for me, I like it to feel really nice. Like super special.
Yeah, the little self-care moment,
for sure. I don't get it that often, so I gotta get it where I can.
And what in terms of like complexion products that like are foundations or tinted moisturizers, what have you tried that's kind of blown you away recently?
Well, just a couple days ago, I got introduced to Ilia's new Skin Rewind stick, and I am into it.
Okay, this is a throwback, right? Because Carlene and I had seen it. We're like, remember the Bobbi Brown sticks?
Where's my wedding?
Day? This is like 2.0.
It is, because the formulations have come very far in that time period, and I will say that this formula is really good.
Wow,
it's really, really nice because it just looks like nothing. And I'm into that. Because I as a makeup artist, I tend to go for products that are quite pigmented. And then I use them sparingly.
Right.
That's just like my technique. And I think that this has that sort of inherently within it. It's got a beautiful finish, but it's got a lot of pigment but it smooths into the skin and then looks like nothing, but it covers just what it needs to cover. It kind of gives you that softness. And I think it definitely has a blurring element there. So it kind of retexturizes and helps texture look softer.
Right. What's your way of applying a stick product? What are we doing?
I mean, it's different for me versus on a client. So if I'm using that on a client, if it's theirs, then I can use it as is, and if not, I'll use a brush, like a synthetic brush on that, and use it on them, and then clean it off. If I'm using it on myself, I'm just putting the stick on.
You'll go. And how many swipes on the face?
I mean,
let's get specific.
Let's be depending on how much sleep I've had. I think it kind of goes back to what the day, but I do think. I was just using it yesterday. I was playing around. I think, and that's what I loved about it. It was like one swipe. Was enough.
Really?
Like, really.
To do the whole face.
Not the whole, but like I would say like one here, one on the nose. One underneath each eye, chin, and then maybe like if you needed it on the cheeks more, because I tend to get red on my cheeks. But it was like amazing how little you needed. Which I love.
I thought it was beautiful. My skin's starting to get a little dry because I keep using azelaic acid. So because I have rosacea, so I'm using that every day, twice a day. So I did realize that I had to work quickly with it to get it to move. And so and it kind of settled into this line. So I was like, okay, but I initially loved. So I was like, I need to ramp up the juiciness in my skincare big time, and then go do it again and work like swipe, complexion brush, and then I really loved it.
If you're doing like plumping, but you don't want that, like you want it to kind of just be plump and not slide. I love St. Jane just came out also, and I don't work for them. I just love their brand. I have no dog in that fight at all. But I just really like the brand, and the serum that she just came out with is gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. It's like a starflower serum or something. It's clear. And again, it's just a plumping hyaluronic kind of thing. I have really sensitive skin, so her products never make me react. And I find that it gives me all that moisture without any sort of weight. Any of the weight that you get.
I'm excited to try the Ilia product because I love the tint when it goes on, but it's just like, it's not for the summer.
No,
let's be honest.
That's what I was going to say. I would say I wouldn't be able to wear that during the summer because it's sliding all around. And I personally, I love a shine, but I don't like it everywhere. So
I actually want to try using both of them together.
Oh, that might be interesting.
To try to do a little, like cheeks with the tint and then
just almost use the stick like a concealer. I think that's really, because you get that glowy and then you also get the coverage. I think that's a good idea.
I'm gonna try that.
I like that.
What about bronzers and blushes for summer? Do you get into the creams or do you lean toward powders? Do you ever combo them? I know Patrick Ta has the cream and the powder, which used to be a rule apparently. remember that you weren't supposed to blend them. But anyway, what's your take?
I think like the reason, a makeup artist would layer a cream and a powder is probably for very good reason. Either it lasts longer or it reads better on film or something. But I do think that, like, for me, I'm a cream blush girl. I've always been a cream blush girl. I love, I'm so obsessed with the Merit cream blushes and they're like in these little domes. They're very glossy looking.
Okay.
I think they're just so user friendly. And I think I've given them to some women and that just like, you just have it in your bag. It's like this thing. And you can even, there's like a berry shade that you can do lips and cheeks real quick. I like the versatility of that. And I think I came up in a time where, it was very rosy cheek, rosy lip kind of era. And, it wasn't really a full face necessarily unless you were kind of going to the club and being kind of creative. And so like that product spoke to me as one of the like lines that has come out, kind of has a sensibility that is similar to mine.
What's so brilliant about Merit is like they created the eyeshadow singles. Basically for people who don't wear eyeshadow. It's kind of crazy, but like my heart's still with the MAC singles.
Oh yeah, I'll always have a place in my heart for the matte singles.
But it was the perfect timing because of the palette fatigue.
Right.
Yes.
And it was a way where with the more minimalist makeup, it's like, okay, I can get that perfect like latte beige or whatever it is without investing in all of these, and I feel like I'm wasting it.
Right.
Palette fatigue. That's also a funny one because like there's like chefs use that too. It's like on the fifth bite you have palette fatigue.
Right.
But that's so funny. Palette fatigue is a totally different kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that though.
Interesting.
But I honestly still do struggle with bronzer like in the summer because I want to wear it. I want to be that glowy thing, but I just feel like the application is so like, I don't know. I just feel like when I see it on the red carpet, it is kind of understated. And I feel like I always end up overdoing it. How do you get it to look good?
I know. Bronzer is tricky. I mean, how many, I even watch tutorials and I'm amazed. I'm like,
really?
Wow.
Okay.
I'm like, I think bronzer is often the wrong formula for, women buy it and it has a lot of shimmer. I think shimmer is it just gives off a false or fake look immediately. So I tend to go toward like why I love the Chanel bronzer in the round, that iconic one.
Yes.
That formula, it doesn't have any shimmer in it. And so you can use it on, even men use it and you can't tell. It just looks like, but there's two approaches. Okay. So it's like, well, where does the sun hit you? Sun doesn't hit you underneath your cheekbones.
Right. Good point.
The sun hits you across the bridge of your nose and onto your cheeks and your forehead and on your chin. It's on the planes of the face. And so people often use bronzer as a conceal or a contour, which I understand because by, definition, we're looking at shades and shadows and dimension, and that's how you achieve it. But it doesn't give you a day at the beach look.
No.
So I think you kind of have to look at like, well, how am I approaching my bronzer? And I think what's wonderful about that bronzer is that it literally looks like you were at the beach.
It's
true. Like you can kind of take it in all those spots and then you just look warmer and a little more alive, especially in the dead of winter. And but then if I'm using it to contour, it can be a bit too warm for that. So I think kind of going in the cooler, tones for something that's going to give a dimension is the way to go. And then maybe a bit warmer when you're doing a bit of a glowy like look.
Yeah. And what about blush placement? Is it still like the smile and do the apple of your cheek? Or are you doing the W that the girlies are doing these days?
I live for a TikTok trend because I love looking at them, but I'm like, no.
Right. Yeah.
But I love going down we're all going down the rabbit holes. Like it's fun. But like, growing up in a time where a trend could take a year to cycle out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's fun to get caught up in a trend. I mean, it keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Keeps it, exciting. But some trends are just for
for TikTok.
Just for TikTok. And I think the bridge of the nose thing is a fascinating one because I don't hate it, but I also haven't figured out a way to really bring it into my repertoire that works in my world yet, unless I'm doing like when I'm doing something like an editorial where I'm like, oh, I want it to look like she's been a little bit sunburned or something like that. I could see that, but I don't. I always look at it through the lens. I back up and I'm like, will this be something I want to look at 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Will I want my client to have been caught up in a TikTok trend when they're winning an Oscar? Probably not. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just
zooming out on that
one. On that one.
Yeah.
I think blush is one of those things that's very an indicator of whether someone's gotten it right or not. Is it can be off-putting.
Yeah.
Or it can be inviting. And so you have to kind of know where to. And for me, blush that's inherently false looking is really for photo shoots and for fun night out at Georgia or something. It's like, or a photo shoot like where I'm like, oh, I'm doing a particular look because it's so fun. And red carpet, if someone will let me because they're doing a really kind of cool look, then great. And I have done it. I mean, I think when Emma, I think it was the Oscars maybe 3 or 4 years ago, she did this like red satin Louis Vuitton suit. It was like a tux.
Oh yeah.
And we did this really cool blush look where it was like going up onto the onto her brow and into the temples, and it was really specific though. It was like for that suit, and it had a bit of an 80s vibe, and so we really went there.
Yeah.
But most women just want to look healthy and glowy and good when they're going out in their daily life.
Yeah.
So for me, that means something that's a bit transparent, something that looks like it works with your skin tone and isn't too far from your skin tone. Like it's literally what you would look like if you flushed.
What kind of brush are you using?
I mean, for cream blush, I often do use my fingers.
You do?
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And that goes for me and that goes for my clients, And sometimes the best cream blush is the perfect nude lipstick that you wear.
Yeah.
I use lipstick a lot on the cheeks.
Okay.
And I know that's not supposedly a good thing, but it's never hurt me or anybody so far.
Yeah.
If it's, if you're able to eat it, you're probably able to put it on your cheeks is my feeling. But that perfect sort of like nude color that you wear that looks like your lips but better.
Like
what was that one for that trend for a while? Your lips but better.
Yeah.
That color on your cheeks.
Oh,
okay.
I haven't tried that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That's a good tip.
What's your favorite way to touch up makeup throughout the day in the summer?
I love
blotting
sheets for that because I do think blotting sheets are your best friend in the summer. They're your best friend a lot, but they're really, really your best friend in the summer because it doesn't disturb. And it also, depending on which one I love the Tatcha ones. The Tatcha ones are excellent. But they just kind of give that sort of quick little mattified look without disturbing anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're kind of they're foolproof, and they remove that extra layer. When I'm on set, I have to use, something a little bit more intense, depending if someone's really sweating.
Right. Get the Starbucks napkin.
I got to get the napkin out, or I got to get the tissue out, and then I can still do the Tatcha sheets, but it's after I remove the sweat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you don't want a gooby globby
mess.
No.
Yeah, I hear you. Less is more.
Less is more.
Now, the powder versus setting face mist debate for summer. Where do you stand on this?
I am really, really trying to understand the face setting mist. I've been using it, trying to see what it is about it that people love. I don't totally get it. I'll be perfectly honest. I've never really understood it. Although I know people love this stuff. They feel great about setting it. But I find that if there's mascara, it will often make the mascara transfer.
Happened to me this morning.
Yep.
I put it on before my mascara.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. So I just don't know. I don't know if I don't know. I guess I'm old school.
So what powder do you like then?
I really love, By Terry makes a hyaluronic loose powder that is just
really
real special. Yeah, because again, I don't love powder in general because I do think that it tends to give, again, like the eye notices it picks up on it and sees it as false. And I like my skin to be like real, like so real it hurts kind of thing, like very, it's definitely a signature of mine in my makeups that the skin looks very, very much like it doesn't have makeup.
Yeah.
And so I usually use a bit of powder around just like the around the nose, edges of the nose and the nasolabial folds, maybe just right in the center of the face.
Yeah.
And I leave everything else alone. And I'll just use a tiny, I don't use a big powder brush. I use a really, really small, almost like a eyeshadow brush, like one of those tapered ones.
Yes.
And I put it I'm strategic, very, very strategic. And I leave
with the powder.
Yeah, and I leave everything else just alone.
Okay.
With a loose powder. And I love that one because it's not so dry. It just feels like it moves into the skin, but it really mattifies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have another trick for making the skin look perfect, but like there's no makeup on? Because that's obviously extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's about brushes or the amount, or this is like that whole thing where two chefs or non-chefs are making the same thing and following the same recipe and having two totally different results. It's like, you know, I'll never use a blender on my cookies. They're the best cookies ever.
Yeah.
I just hand mix, stuff like that. Yeah. But what can you share?
100%. I mean, I think for me, obviously, I have my own little way of doing it that I've been doing it forever. But I think one of the real tricks, I think that if I could pare it down and give some inherent wisdom there, like within how to achieve it, would be to use something that has a lot of coverage very minimally. I used to use a beauty blender all the time for this effect. I would use like Kevin Aucoin had that skin enhancer, and I would treat the skin and get it really, really plumped up and whatever. And then I would use that I would literally get it to the point where it didn't almost like you didn't think there was anything on it.
Right.
I would use the back of my hand and stamp it and stamp it and stamp it until there was almost nothing there
on the beauty blender.
On the beauty blender,
okay.
But I was using that really high coverage foundation. It moves really well into the skin. I don't know, the formula has been changed now, so it's not maybe the same exact one, but you put it onto the skin, almost like you stamp it on, and then you press it into the skin, so it almost like it becomes a part of it. And then if I see any that's still laying on top, I'll take like a clean synthetic brush. Like I also use a taper brush that's probably meant for eyes.
Right.
And I really go through and I like brush it. So it's like a watercolor technique probably, if you were to break it down from a painter standpoint, I would think.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you mixing it with anything, or it's just literally the fact of like beating it?
It's like beating it. Yeah. It's also just like, for me, it's like a lot of adding and removing and adding and removing and adding and removing. It's like a writer editing.
Yeah.
You know?
And then if you have a real person, there's going to be a zit there.
Oh,
what
yeah.
are you going to do?
Yeah, so that for me is like always just like if I have to use a lot of something, I'll use it in like a pin amount, like with a tiny, like almost like an eyeliner brush. Yeah. And I'll use something like the Kevin Aucoin, and I'll go in and I'll literally just use it on that spot, and then I'll seal it with a powder. But I think a mistake that a lot of women make is that they think that if they have to cover something, everything has to be covered with the same amount that they covered this.
Or it'll stand out. Because you got to get it seamless.
You got to get it seamless, but you need the most minimal trace of makeup to bring it together. You don't. But if you leave the face bare and then put a concealer, you're going to pick up on it. The eye will notice it immediately. So you have to find that like sweet spot. Yeah.
One thing I always notice when a makeup artist does my makeup, it's like the light touch.
Yes.
We're all over here beating our faces, literally. And I think half the time I am removing makeup.
Yeah.
I just did it right before you came in the room.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to cover these giant zits on my face. But like, I think that's also the artistry.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're not pushing as hard on the product on the face, right?
No, there's not like it's not a covering up. It's more of like a revealing. If I put it on, I almost always remove it.
Yes.
And then I just go back in and put it where I see it needs to be, but more. And I find that like, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And most people are not willing to like sit back and take that time that it needs. I mean, I always laugh about how silly it is for women to think like there's such a thing as a 5-minute face. Really, I mean, when you think about what we do, it takes hours to do.
Right.
And I would never want to lie to anyone and tell them it doesn't take hours to do what I do and to make it look like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's a very, 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 I know that it's not right.
Yeah.
But it's just true.
It's part of the magic. It's part of the magic.
Right.
You know what I mean? By the way, what mascara are you wearing today?
Oh my God, what was it? Oh, it's Victoria Beckham.
Oh, I am obsessed with that.
Obsessed.
Everything she's making.
Everything.
It's
her
amazing.
Eyebrow pencils
are
the best eyebrow pencils.
I haven't tried those.
They're so good.
Yeah.
I got lucky enough to get like lab samples of them.
Okay.
I don't even remember how. Maybe, I don't even know, but I had them and I tried them out before they came out and I was like, these are the best eyebrow pencils.
Wow.
And I get sent everything because I'm very lucky that way. I try to just be in gratitude about it, because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I can't try another thing. But that was like, I actually called and said, can she send me a whole set, because I love them that much. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a huge endorsement. Everything she's doing, and like the mascara tube, it's white and it's like, it just has this weight to it.
Gorgeous.
This is a new mascara, not the original. That was like a brush.
No, it's like you're talking about the white one. It came out like a early spring kind of thing, and I really, really love it.
It's really great.
I haven't tried that one.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to try that eyebrow product. What do you like about it?
It is that, because often what I find about like it's a twist step, and what I often find about those is that they can dry out, and that they get a bit to the point where you have to press too hard and then they break.
Yeah, so real, so real.
It's just like really, and then they kind of look muddy.
Yeah,
and these are just the perfect texture. Yeah. They move on to the skin. They give you the right amount of body, but then you can do the really beautiful, brush strokes, and they don't dry. They just don't dry out.
Yeah.
And the colors are great. I just love everything about them. I feel like they're my favorite eyebrow pencil right now.
You have to try the Maybelline Build-A-Brow. That's my latest
favorite.
Ooh,
okay. I don't know about that.
It's one of those ones where it's like a liquid liner.
It's kind of like the Stila.
Oh,
it's like a liquid pen?
Yes.
But so when I first got it, I was like, I'm going to hate this because I'm not a precision girly. So I was like, it's going to look so dumb on me, but it's my job. I'm going to try it. And but actually it's so soft. It's almost like I want to say watered down, but it doesn't look watery. It's just like so soft that it's like it's building, but it's not as precise as you would think.
Wow.
And then afterwards, like it's double-sided. So then on the other end, there's a clear gel. So it's like you can shape as well. It's honestly my favorite thing right now.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I love a drugstore find.
Yes. And so what's your biggest summer ick that like you see it in real life on the red carpet or just in real life and you recoil?
Okay. Ooh, God. Maybe too tan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too tan is never good.
Yeah.
In the sense of like they just went too far with it and it doesn't, because sometimes a little tan's great.
Yes.
Yes.
Glow.
But a whole lot of tan can be a little off-putting, feel a little...
especially when you're very fair like me and you have the really white part. It's like
in your hair.
I see you, girl.
Yeah, you need the color wow in there. That's what you do, right?
I think also maybe just highlighter in the hot sun is not your friend.
Right.
I think highlighter is a overused trick. That can be abused, and in the summer the sun is at a point where it's usually overhead for most of the day, and it is meant to pick up the sunlight, and it does,
and all your
pores and every texture your skin's ever had. So it's like I feel like highlighter in the summer has to be used with a little bit more caution. And a little bit more delicate approach. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one?
I do love. I really love RMS, the little tubes that she makes.
Oh, tubes.
And Katie Jane Hughes just sent me hers, and I think it's lovely.
It's good.
It's really good. And I love Tata Harper has a little pot. And it's just like you dab it on and it kind of moves in. It doesn't look, but powder highlighters can just be so obvious. Again, they sit on top of the skin versus moving into the skin.
Yeah. I abandoned those years ago. Yeah, the powder ones.
They're not really easy to manipulate once they're on. They kind of grab everything underneath.
Yeah.
I tend to use like the Tata Harper or the RMS because I can dab them in with my finger and they kind of move in and they look just like your skin's glowing. You don't know why exactly. Little bit of mica, a little bit of iridescence, but nothing too sparkly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to look like you're glittering on the beach unless it's your intention to glitter on the beach. And then that's a whole other.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm so curious because you just talked about getting sent so much stuff and we get sent a lot of things too.
Yeah.
What And I'm sure your kit at this point is like curated to a T, exactly how you like it. What's your process for introducing something new into your kit? Because you're not testing something for the first time, like when you're doing glam.
No,
right?
I know. I remember my mother-in-law telling me, never make a dish the first night of a dinner party. You know, it's like at the first time when you're, for like an important meal. It's like same with makeup. I think I don't try new things the day of a big day like that. I try them on myself. I have a studio behind my house. My kids call it my vibe villa. I'll take it.
Yeah. Opposite of the man cave.
Opposite of the man cave. And so I usually use my friends as guinea pigs. I've been doing that since I was 10 years old.
Yeah,
I've been using my friends as guinea pigs and trying things out and getting the textures and seeing what works on who, and like if I like it, and I'll play with it on myself to see how does this like operate with this, because I've trial and error, I've found out this moisturizer and this foundation pill or this one, and then it's a disaster. You can't go back sometimes. You don't have the time to go back or something happens. So, I never bring something brand new out the day of because it's just too risky.
Yeah.
So what's a recent makeup rediscovery for you? So like a product that you forgot existed, but you got your hands on it again. You're like, yeah, that's going back in the kit.
Ooh, that's a good question. Armani's Luminous Silk Foundation. It's in, it's out. It's always in. It's always good. I sometimes will move on and then I'll go back because it's good. It's always good. Yeah. So that's a and I come from the I'm sure you do too, but I come from the era of the 8-hour cream, and I've tried to use other things, but nothing photographs like 8-hour cream.
Really?
Nothing looks like it. Nope.
All over the face?
Not all over the face, but just like there's just a way that I use it, if I'm making kind of like a messy, smoky eye, or if I'm doing something, nothing looks like that. It does this, nothing does. So, I mean, 8-hour cream is kind of a forever product, and I kind of go in and out of using it because it's probably not PC to use it. I don't even know what's in it. I have no idea. I'm sure it's terrible for me, but I've probably ingested or have so much of it in my body, in my bloodstream from all the years of using it. But the smell immediately brings me back to the runways in New York.
They have unscented now.
They do? Yeah. I don't even know if I want to do unscented because it's
so
I know. It's so iconic.
Nostalgic for me. But
it is.
So those are probably two that like they do rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. And we know we've established you are a luxury girly, but what's in your Amazon basket? Anything that is makeup that you kind of restock from Amazon?
Well, I just got a really amazing ice roller from Oh my God, I'm forgetting what it's called, but it was like this woman who had like a surgery and she just designed this thing. It's like, I'll have to send you which one it is, but it's like, it was a gift actually from Amazon, but it was someone got it for me. But it was like, it's literally like, it's wide aluminum.
Is it pink?
It's pink.
Is it the Skinny Confidential?
I think it's the Skinny Confidential.
We're right here in her headquarters.
Yeah, it's on the other side of this wall. She has a whole display.
That thing is amazing.
It is amazing.
And so that was my worst.
And it's got the silicone handle. It's pink. It is great.
It's great.
That's perfect for summer, right?
It is. It's amazing. And like that over a nice eye mask.
Yeah. Lauren puts hers in a like champagne bucket.
That's what I just had it in that the other day. I was in the champagne bucket. Yeah.
Do you ever use it like on your red carpet clients?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. So Skinny Confidential on the red carpet.
I'm gonna have to get my hands on one now that I'm all in on rosacea. I was recently diagnosed with rosacea.
Wow.
So I feel like I need to start getting into the cryo and the cold, the icy this and the refrigerated that.
Also, I have to tell you, I suffered with that like most of my life. There is a brand that I just started working with that I did not have any idea. I'd never heard of them before in my life, called Plated Skin Science.
Okay, never heard of them.
I started using it about, I want to say 4 or 5 months ago, and we were just they just sent it to me like, try it, tell me what you think. It helps with, redness and whatever and rosacea. I cannot tell you.
Really?
It was a night and day situation for me.
Okay.
Incredible. It's exosomes, which is, platelets.
I've been talking about that.
I've never had such a radical shift in my skin with any product I've ever tried. So I would guarantee, and you just wear it underneath everything and it just sinks right in. get that sent to you because
them immediately.
And then I want to know. I want to hear.
Platelet, serve it at Platelet. Sponsored by Platelet. Today's episode has been sponsored by Platelet.
I'm like, I was telling everyone, because people are like, wow, what have you been? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like, this stuff works.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This works. Yeah. You heard it here.
I wish I was an investor in them.
Yeah. I mean, God.
Well, Platelet, call us.
Yeah, we're available. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. This was a joy, and I learned so much, which is just, it's so great to sit down with like an incredible legendary artist like you. Gosh. So we've been watching and admiring you for years. So here we are.
Well, and God, thank you so much for having me.
And thanks for squeezing us in.
Oh my God.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.